in terms of the seat at the table, it's earned, not given, and it's earned through. For me, it is extreme collaboration with internal functions on the right things, not on all the things, because you need to be choiceful.
Yeah.
It is demonstrating value. And we're in procurement, we need to stop complaining about people see us as cost cutters. If cost cutting gives you the opportunity to talk about all the other stuff, about working capital and payment terms, about innovation through contract manufacturers, about supply chain initiatives that you can do, about risk management, about ESG. It gives you the right to talk about transforming part of the organization through procurement digital technology that leads to other digital technologies internally. But if you don't have the basics of cost and supply, nobody wants to talk to you.
Thank you so much for joining another edition of The Never Ending Climb for a Stronger Supply Chain and Procurement. Today, I have the great pleasure of being joined by Panos Anastasiou. I did say that right.
Anastasiou, but we'll give you the credit.
Okay, I was so close on the Siu at the end. I'll have to get that. Panos, I know that you are very, very passionate, and I love the energy that you bring. And I know that as a human connector that loves bringing that support and love for everybody and super passionate about procurement and supply chain and going with what life brings you, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be in podcasts with folks that you can have an entertaining, energetic, and fun discussion where you don't know where it's going to land exactly. You have an idea, and it's like, okay, let's go with the flow and see where this takes us and see what lessons we can unpack for everyone.
Absolutely. One of the things that is so powerful in unpacking for people in procurement and supply chain, sometimes people in procurement and supply chain, there's always fires, there's always things that need to happen like yesterday. Or 2 hours ago. And sometimes that makes it trickier to make that time and space for development, for mentoring, for coaching, and how cross-functional training of understanding other parts of business and supply chain are so valuable. What would you add?
I would add that if you ever want to be people first, you need to talk to people, and mentoring, coaching, training, learning, and being a friend to others, really. I mean, it starts with being a good human, means spending time with humans and trying to be good to them, also doing the occasional mistake and learning from it. But it is a paramount that you, this morning, I'll give the example, 1.5 hours of my 10-hour day, and Sean is in East Coast and I am in Europe. So this is my last thing of the day. But I had an hour and a half of coaching and mentoring, one of which was external and one of which was internal. So 15 to 20% of my time a day gets spent on people growing and developing others for the opportunity of them to be better humans, do better things internally. And when my mentees are outside, it's for them to do better things externally and for the world that Sean and Panos and every Sean and Panos live in.
Yeah. I think you just described such an important part to me of the never-ending climb of leaving the world better than you found it. But to do that, we've got to build a better us for all the people that we know, love, and care about so that we can show up that way and help create the change that we want to see. That time that we invest with others to help them look at things in a new way, to see that they can do things that they didn't know that they could do is so powerful.
And what I would add is you also, it's never selfless. It's always selfish to spend time with others. First and foremost, because you will learn something about yourself that you didn't know. You will realize beliefs that you had that you may need to abolish, and ideas and clothes that you wear that you need to change. And it's also very selfish because you live in this world, and by developing others to develop a better world, you automatically benefit for it. So when people say it's a selfless act of love, etc., no, it's absolutely selfish, and it's what makes you a human being and a good human being if you do it.
I think I had the privilege about a month ago to stand on a small stage with two of our customers and two analysts and talk about how important it is when good people get to work with good people to do great things. And you have so much more fun when we're doing that. And I think this is where, as you go through life and you go take on that next mountain, there's skills that we need to develop. One of the things I know you're passionate about is making sure that even people that think they're not technical at all really need to go and learn at least enough and to keep being curious about technology. How would you help encourage somebody to lean in and push past that, oh, I'm not technical, I don't get that, or I don't know that?
Well, there's so many ways, so let's unpack a few of them. And I'll give my own example. If you talk to me probably a year ago, I knew only the basics of, let's call it procurement technology, since we're a procurement supply chain discussion. Procurement digital tech, I knew the fundamentals of source to pay and what basic intake is and a bit of orchestration and tail spend management, but really basic stuff. And in my previous life, I used to complain to the center of excellence team we had about not doing things faster, not getting more technology in. Um, and then I look back at it, I'm like, well, maybe I should have actually done more implementation myself. Maybe I should have done more. I was owning a region, so I should have tried to experiment and do more stuff in my region with my own remit, which I didn't. I was expecting the ivory tower to feed me things for me to take and then give to my team. But if you don't know what you're taking or how good it is, then you cannot judge it. And then I spend a lot of time. There's so many resources today, whether you're on LinkedIn, whether you're in WhatsApp communities, whether you listen to podcasts like this one, whether you have supplier education from Convergent and others that actually do a lot of it. So if you really want to learn, it's super easy. Just go to 10 different supplier meetings. You'll get different views, but then you can triangulate of who's saying what and how that fits in. You start putting the pieces together of what source to pay is, what intake is, what orchestration is, what tail spend management is, what tail vendor management is, ERP systems, and then you put them all together. And at the same time,
Yeah.
you can give back to whatever procurement community you're in by telling them what you've learned and by trying to experiment a bit. And that includes agentic AI, LLMs, etc., which we can unpack separately. But long story short, in the current environment, with the digital information we have available, if you want to learn, it's impossible not to. Just look for it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so rewarding to look back on something where, we used to believe that it was up to somebody else to go and help create these opportunities for technology, for tools, and so on. And then what I love about the way you described that is you were describing it as, hey, if I had leaned in and gone to go and help surface suggestions, if I'd done a little bit more push and pull, you can create the outcome and be the leader that helps other teams then go on to adopt what you brought in. And I think that's a really powerful realization, because I think there's this idea for a lot of large companies that, that's somebody else. But the difference between a department head and a leader is the leader goes and creates that space and creates those examples for other departments to go and follow. And I love the way you described it, because it comes from that sense of curiosity, right? You got curious about something that you didn't know a lot about. And then from that curiosity, you got to go and create this wonderful opportunity to be a leader that earns a seat at the table. And that was something that you were talking about too, is there's a lot of procurement supply chain leaders that want a seat at the table, but they, whatever the table is, but it's not given, it's earned. Tell us more about what you've seen in ways that leaders have earned that seat at the table.
The definition of a leader, because the moment you start unpacking what leadership is, it's the curiosity and the willingness and taking initiative. A title does not make you a leader. A large team underneath you does not make you a leader. There are people that are solo individuals that are massive leaders because they go out there, do stuff, and move the boat by themselves. They row and they sail and they pull and tow all at the same time by one person. So leadership is the initiative to do it. In terms of the seat at the table, it's earned, not given, and it's earned through. For me, it is extreme collaboration with internal functions on the right things, not on all the things, because you need to be choiceful.
Yeah.
It is demonstrating value. And we're in procurement, we need to stop complaining about people see us as cost cutters. If cost cutting gives you the opportunity to talk about all the other stuff, about working capital and payment terms, about innovation through contract manufacturers, about supply chain initiatives that you can do, about risk management, about ESG. It gives you the right to talk about transforming part of the organization through procurement digital technology that leads to other digital technologies internally. But if you don't have the basics of cost and supply, nobody wants to talk to you.
Yeah.
And the moment you have the basics, everyone thinks that's the only thing you can do, and it's for you to prove them wrong, and then start bringing like, here's innovation from a CDMO, here is working capital extensions, here's a supply chain financing program, here is agentic AI that will resolve our problems with requisitioners not knowing how to buy, what to buy, and what a PVL is. And by the way, preferred vendor list, because we use acronyms that people do not understand. And we talk about catalog, and people are thinking we're flicking pages. Like, what is a catalog? So you tell the acquisition to go to the catalog and buy something. It's like, what is a catalog?
Let's talk about sourcing and categories and category management, and then all of a sudden they start going, "Wait, what? We just what do you mean?" And when we show up from a procurement or supply chain and we start talking about, well, in this category, and the business is like, "What do you mean this category? I'm me.
One person.
I need what I need." Right? There's others, right? A lot of the business units are like, "Listen, I'm here because I need help." And then they start hearing about categories and sourcing and policies, and they glaze over and they don't know why they came. And I think what you were just describing is that intense collaboration, and that's one of those ways of I'm here to help you, not in the like I'm here from internal audit or I'm here from the government and I'm here to help you, because that usually inspires a little bit of fear. But rather the I am here. Let's look at your objective together, and then let's go figure out how we solve it. It's way more fun.
Yeah, you should never be the
Yeah.
police. Never be. If you're procurement and you're like you start talking compliance and policy and guidelines, and you're the police. If you show up as nobody wants to talk to the police. You think of it you as a human. Do you like interactions with police? No. You will get beaten up, or you will be put to jail, or you think you've done something wrong. So the police hat does not work. The enabling hat of let me help you how to find things and figure out things and help you get what you need and meet the business need, whatever the business need is first. And it could be revenue, it could be supply chain continuity, it could be innovation, it could be cost, it could be so many things. But do the business need, then you can do everything else you want as procurement in the background. Feed them and make yourself indispensable to them, and then they will come to you. As the other saying says, if Mohammed doesn't go to the mountain will go to Mohammed. So be the mountain, go. Um,
What I love
that's
about
what I
that is there's so many ingredients for a successful career there, right? Can you tell us a little bit more about how your experience, your beliefs shape the way you describe creating a successful professional career and what that means to you?
Well, first of all, I don't know whether I even want a successful professional career. So I landed in procurement by accident. I had 4 years of supply chain in a very small place in Greece. And I was abroad for a couple of conferences after an MBA. And I got interviewed for procurement because I had pharma supply chain. So I landed by accident, not choice in procurement. Today, people land more by choice because there is bachelor's and master's and specialist procurement programs. 20 years ago, that was not the case. Um, so I landed by accident. I found something that was very people centric, very relationship and partner management driven. I am an extrovert, extreme, a lot of energy. So I'm like, okay, this is something I can do because I get to talk to people and I talk to all the functions across all departments and the external and internal ecosystem. So I get to talk to everyone. Beautiful. And then I was a curious person by default. I get bored easily. So every 2 years, in my Procter and Gamble days, every 2 to 3 years, I had to change assignment to do something else. And then people picked up on it. It's like, oh, Panos is curious. I became a troubleshooter, and I was I was a great person to shovel poo-poo in areas that had a lot of poo-poo in it that nobody had cleaned up forever. So if you wanted change and transformation and a really big mop, Panos, which by the way in Swiss means mop, so I was in Switzerland being the mop of poo-poo in procurement spaces that nobody had cleaned up. So Panos the poo-poo cleaner, which gave me the ability to then sorry, go.
I was just thinking from a curiosity, from a go do what needs to be done, to go, be the person that leaves things better. Sometimes we've all got to pick up the mop.
I mean, short sleeves, raise your sleeves and sorry, Dulcolax, because I work for Opella. So our tagline is we get shit done with Dulcolax. And the CPO of Opella gets
Yeah,
shit done when he needs to go have a difficult conversation. But also, the CPO of Opella never
yeah.
wanted to be the CPO of Opella. When I was looking at CPOs at the time, I'm like, I will never be able to do what these guys do because they have all the experience, the knowledge, the strategic vision, the people skills. I'm like, I will not be them. But I did enough zigzags and weird assignments that at some point I built the skill set naturally that then I led a whole region, two regions, one in PNG, one in McCain. And then an Opella came to me and said, like, you have the whole skill set we want. And I'm like, so, okay, then I guess I get to do CPO. But I'm not a title person. I just bring the skill set of to the title, really.
The leader that did not aspire to lead is a really powerful combination. And I think the curiosity and the way that you bring 100% of yourself at work, and you bring that with the energy, the passion, and the drive, and let's just go make it better. When you start from that kind of intent, there are so many wonderful outcomes that can come, right? And I think there's the people that you meet along the way that help contribute to the way you can pick up new ideas, new beliefs, and new ways of looking at things is so powerful. But you had to move around. You didn't just go one ladder up, one step up, one step up, one step up. Because when you do that, you've got a very narrow ladder and it's tippy, right? And it's easy to find out that it's leaning against the wrong wall. And if you build,
Yes.
more of a pyramid, then you've got this beautiful foundation to stand on, and you then can look at things and understand with confidence what's going on over there, because you used to live that, you used to do that, or something close to it.
Yeah, and you said it right. It's something close to it. You don't need to be a master and a specialist of every category to raise to the VP, SVP, CPO level. You need to know enough of either the category or parallel categories, because a
Yeah.
service is a service. Okay, digital is different to marketing, media. Media is slightly different to creative. Creative is different to a repair maintenance service, but a service is a service. A material is a material, whether it's packaging, tertiary, active pharmaceutical ingredient, chemical commodity, or I had a friend of mine who asked me, do you know anything about buying nuts? I'm like, no, but I can learn. If you want me to learn how to
Yeah.
buy nuts,
Yeah.
you go figure out the
It
commodity
might be
itself.
similar to one of these other things that I have bought before in, a similar kind of commodity. Yeah, the patterns across topics are really, really powerful. It's one of the things, there's a guy, Ray Dalio, who has written
Yes,
and studied patterns over
pattern
centuries,
recognition. Yes.
millenniums, and the pattern recognition and the just because I haven't lived this and seen this in my working career doesn't mean it hasn't happened before. So where else has it happened? What else can we study to understand how this will happen, right? There's oh my God, computers are going to be the end of everything. It's going to kill every job. And all of a sudden there's more jobs and growth. And now, oh my God, AI is going to be the end of everything, and it's going to be the end of all the jobs. And fast forward, and I'm quite confident that won't be the case. And I think this idea that there will always be some that say the sky is falling, and there will always be some that say it's the best thing ever. And the truth lies somewhere in the middle, but the patterns play out to help guide us in not repeating the mistakes of the past.
Yes. And it's in your gene code. I mean, first of all, that's how humans are made, by the gene code actually finding the right patterns that can survive and can make a Sean and a Panos. Because the gene code finds all the ways that you cannot make a Sean and a Panos. So we are genetically coded to find pattern recognition because nature finds pattern recognition. That's how the universe and the cosmos gets formed from a big bang to actually the stars pulling things together into mass and making this is pattern recognition to
Yeah.
begin with. And then to that, history is always a great predictor of the future because it happened in a different lifetime in a different way, whether it was the cars that replaced the horses or the computers that replaced the typewriters, but
Yep.
the pattern is still the same.
Yeah. It is change, it's transformation, it's evolution in a sense. There's a really cool convergence, and I don't mean that in a dad joke kind of way, but if you study biology and evolution, there's a pattern where many different species have evolved towards the shape of a crab. And independently, over many, many times, many, many places, independent gene pools have evolved towards the shape and body of a crab. And what I love about this is where every company is special and unique and different, but they're also just like everyone else. And I think when you can see patterns that start to evolve towards a similar shape, a similar structure, there are patterns that are clearly effective across a wide range of geographies and biospheres and so on. And so if we take that same concept, we can apply that to our own businesses and think about what parts do we need to reinvent because we're so special? And what patterns can we take because they have evolved to be effective across so many other organizations? And I think this is one of those wonderful patterns that we can see of, are we as an organization trying to build our own special snowflake way of doing something? Or is this perhaps something that we can learn from the patterns of so many others that have been so successful over so much time, and
Eh,
and adopt those things quickly?
yeah. And to your point, your unique innovation and your unique contribution should probably be like 1% of your 100% of the company. The other 99% needs to be pattern recognition and reapplication of everything else that has worked exceptionally well before, that you play on repeat, and you only tweak it by that 1% that is your unique value and your unique taste. Everything else should be banal and blasé and the same, and repetition of the successes that came before you. And by the way, that's when, for procurement and supply chain people listening to this that have gone through food and beverage, FMCG, pharma, other industries, there is a beautiful world out there where you build 20, 25 years of experience, and then suddenly private equity knocks on your door, venture capitalists knock on your door, angel investors knock on your door, startups knock on, and you're like, why me? You're like, you have unique attributes and knowledge that we want to use, and you think you don't. You're like, I'm a basic human being. But then you talk to them for 10, 20 minutes, you ask like 5, 6, 7 different questions, and they're like, that's why we want you. Because you ask all these questions that we cannot ask ourselves, you challenge us, and you bring these unique experiences from other partners that you know that we cannot see, and we need someone like you to tell us the patterns because we don't know them. And I'm like, oh, I have a skill set that I was not aware of, that I found very banal, which is 99% of everything else that works, which you
Yeah.
discredit immediately because it's like, there's another 1,000 like me. But all these people need those thousands of you to make other things work on their end.
Yep. And this is one of those places where, for many of us, I'll say, people like you and I, we bring a humility and a curiosity with us that sometimes makes it easy for us to forget that we actually leave a trail of remarkable things behind. And we really do live that never ending climb of leaving things better than we found them. I know, just thinking about finding a couple of ways to bring this home for today, I'm curious if you had some advice for maybe Panos 10 or 20 years ago, or a younger version of somebody like you who is 10 or 20 years earlier in their career today. What advice would you want them to remember 6 weeks from now?
Say yes to all, well, say yes. Yeah, experiment. Life,
Yeah.
you cannot see, you cannot connect the dots going forward. The path is always foggy, it is dark, you cannot see it, and it will change. Looking back, it will all make sense. Trust life, trust the twisted turns, take the weird turn, say yes to shitty jobs, work with good people, say no to shitty people.
Yes.
Right? Yes
Yes.
to shitty jobs with great people, no to great jobs with shitty people in it. Choose
100%.
the harder right versus the easier left.
Yes. Yes. I think that comes back to that great people working with great people make great things happen. And it makes the whole journey so much more fun, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert.
And life will find a way. And life gives you philosophy, life gives you the mountains you need to climb.
Yes.
Look at them, choose to climb the mountain, and learn from it. I did many stupid things, but I was chasing numbers in CrossFit and weightlifting and chasing skydiving jumps and chasing a few things that were not really meaningful. And life had to actually give me a massive accident to be like, focus on what matters. So when life breaks you and then you have to rebuild yourself from a very low point, you find your core energy as a person is there. Who you are and what you're meant to do in this beautiful simulation that we all live in is encoded. You just need to let it crystallize. And for Panos, it was be the human connector. Talk to the Seans of the world and every other person in the world and help them connect and get them to do great things together. In some of these, you will participate as a person. In most of these, you will be an observer, an outsider, or you'll do one connection and run away. Be okay with that. You mentioned Gandhi at the beginning of the podcast. Be the change you want to see in the world. And
Yeah.
also just throw the little stone in the ocean and let the ripples go. And do not care whether you're in the ripple or on the shore looking at the ripple, if you turn your head and you're looking in another horizon. The ripple will do the right thing for everyone around it.
There's something so wonderful about that. And I know the idea, and it's a belief that I've held for a long time, that things happen for us, not to us. And there's so much power in the way you described looking at that, right? Of, when you get to see the challenge in front of you as something that you get to overcome, not something that has happened to you or against you. That subtle shift has been so powerful for so many people. And I just want to celebrate you for bringing that to the world and sharing that and encouraging more people to think that way, because that leaves people better than when we found them, when we can help leave them with that idea. Panos, I'm grateful for you, for your time today, for your experience, and for everybody watching. This has been another edition of The Never Ending Climb for a Stronger Supply Chain and Procurement. We'll see you next week. Panos, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.